What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. Finally getting around to getting the tier list video done for you guys because, I don't know, I just completely forgot to do it. And then I've had a really busy weekend, just had my birthday, by the way, which was awesome. But finally, we've had a little bit of a relaxation time. We can finally get this tier list video out. And this tier list is, I guess, gonna be a little bit outdated in like next week because we're about to get the big Super Sugo Fest August 10th. We know that there is something coming. We just don't know what yet. So that's going to hopefully shift things up a little bit. It's always fun when a new character comes out and shifts up the tier list video, of course. But, of course, this is the new format that I've made from the 10th anniversary, where I still have my top 5 characters. We have then not really rated by each individual unit, but kind of like how useful they are and specifically how often they're used in content. So that is what we're going to be using our sliding scale from, going from always used, we have our moderately used, rarely used, and then characters that have some niche usages moving forward. However, looking forward, let's see if we can change any of the characters in this list, because new characters come out and it can shift the usefulness of some of these units. Some characters become even more useful as new characters get released, you know. But having a look at some of this stuff here, personally, I don't really think any of these units are going to be changing all that much, at least not in the niche tier here, of course. And we will talk about the new units being added into the list a little bit later. Moving into the rarely used tier, I think Wano Law potentially, he could be buffed a little bit more because he's actually been a lot more useful than I have given him initial credit for. So I do think that he's actually kind of good in that respect. Same with this Shanks. I think this Shanks is still really nice. The fact that he resists special reverse is always going to be a reason to use him in content. You know, I've made a couple of showcase videos this month, and he definitely has come up in a couple of circumstances. Law and Beppo. Now, I did pull them between the last tier list and now, and Law and Beppo genuinely kind of surprised me a little bit. I think this character, again, very similar to Shanks, has a special reverse resistance captain, and the ability for this unit to inflict defense down through immunity just with the super switch, and then you can get the defense down to activate like on another turn, and then you have the multi-turn conditional boost. Law and Beppo have surprised me for sure. I don't own Kid and Killer yet. I did actually just pull this Sanji from a legend ticket, so I need to go ahead and use him in some content to see how he actually is. At face value though, I don't think Sanji's going to be as great as I think that Law and Beppo is. All that being said though, still very good. And same with Vegapunk. Vegapunk I actually will move up to moderately used because his captain effect is so good, removing 10 turns of bind and paralysis, I think it is. The thing is though, is that he is relatively difficult to build for because you basically have to build a pure cerebral team for him to actually work. So that's the big issue with Vegapunk, through using him in some content recently as well. But I feel pretty comfortable with most of the characters here. The memories Nami and the memories Robin, like, they're fine. I think Nami's actually pretty solid. Robin will have her uses, but a little bit they're not going to be used as much, you know. We move on to the moderately used tier. These are characters that see quite a lot of play in content in One Piece Treasure Cruise. I mean, most of these characters I use quite often actually. All of these units are really strong. This Kid I don't use as much, but he is relatively good. You can use him as a speed farm style captain. Magma Kaido is still very good. Great utility with the waifus, of course. Gil Tesoro, absolutely love this unit. Used him recently to complete the Heavenly Demon number 2 Garp challenge with those Garp challenge resets. I mean, it is a bit of a shame that Odin and Roger, I don't think they're that great, to be honest. They do resist, I think it's Despair in their captain effect, but like, so many characters already do that, and this character doesn't provide that much to the crew. If you look at what this character actually does, yes, you can get some pretty good damage potential, but honestly, not a big fan of the design of this unit. Even when this character came out, I was never really a big fan of this unit, which is a bit of a shame because Odin and Roger in one unit sounds really cool on paper, but it's just unfortunate that the character isn't that great. I think this Ace, I think he will have his uses here and there. He is one of those units that allows you to double stack conditional boosts, but it's just the fact that he needs striker or shooter captains in order for it to work, whereas characters like Robin and Big Mom double stacking conditional boosts, but those units will either require cerebral or free spirit in Robin's case, which is very good because most of the good units in the game are either cerebral or free spirit, or you've got Big Mom who needs a powerhouse or a driven captain, and most of the high-end damage teams will require, you know, cerebral driven, free spirit, or powerhouse type captain, not a lot of the high damage teams require a striker or a shooter as their captain, and if they do, there's just better units to be using on your team rather than this ace. I mean, the 10th anniversary ace that came out is just a far better unit that you would use in more shooter focused teams over this character, for example. It's just the way that it is. Rayleigh, whew, I love this unit, dude. This unit is cracked. Doflamingo and Sugar is another unit that I pulled recently. Great captain effect, removing special bind, but again, it's another one of those units that I just don't see being used all that much. This Super Tandem Luffy, everyone got this unit for free, and this unit is still pretty good. I mean, and it comes at Super Tandem level 5, a very easy activatable Super Tandem. You can Super Evolve him, or we will get his skulls to Super Evolve him, I am sure of it. It's just like, the base form I feel is just more useful because it's just a better unit in Pirate Rumble, but you've got like, you know, this Luffy being a super evolution and stuff like that. It's kind of neat, but I actually kind of like the base form a little bit better. And then we got the rest of the units here. We move on near the top here. These units in this top tier I use all the time. I think these units are fantastic, god tier units. The thing is though, is the more and more the time has progressed. Look, initially when the 10th anniversary hit, I immediately stated that Shanks I felt like was kind of the worst unit, and due to that I ranked him relatively low. However, after the 10th anniversary has come and gone, and as content has been releasing, Shanks has definitely been a lot better than I gave him credit for. I know people have been shouting that from the rooftops ever since this character came out, and yes, I do agree, this unit is actually insanely busted. Does he make it into top 5? I don't know. We're going to have a discussion about that one. As for the rest of these units, like all of these units are really good. Rayleigh Gabbana are a little bit weaker compared to the rest of the units here. Alba, I haven't personally used as much, but he does have a lot of potential. The fact that we are now progressing past Wano means that we're not really, or we shouldn't be really getting too many more beast pirate characters, which ultimately will dwindle the value of Alba, because you need to have one of those units on your team to actually make use of Alba's effects. Luckily, this queen is still very, very good. You know, versus Kaido has potential for sure, but Alba, I feel like, will slowly dwindle off as time progresses. I mean, you've got like these key units here. These units, great utility units here. The rest of these units are amazing. Shanks' crew, as old as this character is, he's aged incredibly well, especially with the Super Evolution, Level Limit Break. Momo's still great. This Yamato dude, another one of these units that I have definitely undervalued when this character first came out, because I wasn't one of those people that went ahead and got the character to Final Tap Level 5, but dude, Final Tap Level 5 Yamato, I think it legitimately is the hardest hitting thing that you can do in the game. When you have all of the effects completely capped out, if you use her effects effectively, you know, I don't know how other ways to say that, but if you use her correctly, and you ensure that that final tap percentage buff goes up as high as it possibly can, you have the damage reduction based attack boost, all of the buffs on Yamato, dude, she hits so freaking hard. I haven't seen it personally, but I've heard stories from other people on Discord that in the most recent Super Boss Kizuna, people were able to see numbers with this Yamato attacking with her final tap to reach up to 3 trillion, should I say. Even though the damage gets reduced, the initial tap still shows the actual damage that the character would have done, and people have made this character do like 3 trillion damage. I heard potentially 4 trillion. I don't know if that's true or not, but that just sounds absurd to me that this character is capable of doing that. So because of that, you have to give credence to this character being insanely powerful. I love Cross Guild, one of my favorite units that's ever released in this game. Absolutely phenomenal unit, great in super bosses and stuff. Sanji, and Sanji's probably devalued a little bit these days because his rush is not as good as some of the other ones, but it's still a very valuable Straw Hat character to have, to be honest. Still better than a lot of these other units here. Roger, if you have him at Super Tandem level 5, is so busted, and Mazor is still very good, and then you got like the top 5. These units are all amazing still. Personally, I have used Ace a lot more recently in the past month or so, so I probably would put Ace a little bit over Luffy at the moment. But not saying Luffy's bad, because Luffy's still god tier. It's just I've used Ace a little bit more. So for that reason, I'm putting him a little bit above. I still think Utsu's one of the best in the game. Every piece of content that comes out, if you are able to use cerebral characters for it, usually Utsu is going to be one of the best captains to use for it. Great synergy with some of the other units in the game. Psy Gear 5 Luffy, both 5 and 6 star and 6 star plus, still amazing. And dude, Zoro and Sanji, man. And look, another thing that we have to talk about, remember, with the 14.1 update, they introduced this, or they teased this ability on this new Hiyori that has the ability to set like a territory effect, where if you have all characters on your crew from a certain class, then you get like a bonus damage buff and damage reduction. And the thing is if they bring out a slasher or a free spirit territory domain buff, then Zoro Sanji immediately gains even more value, because you can set your territory as Slash or Free Spirit, and then Zoro Sanji can change your entire crew to either Slasher or Free Spirit to get the benefit from that territory. So if we get a Slasher or Free Spirit territory buff, Zoro Sanji just go even higher up in terms of how useful this character is. Legit, I think Zoro Sanji right now is the best unit in the game. Nothing really compares, because this character, no one does what this character does. This character literally does everything. Utility, attack, orb boost, tandem slot manipulation, basically applying just about every single chain buff in the game, buffing attack and orb boost, amazing super tandem that synergizes with some of the other great Straw Hats in the game. Like, this character just does so much. So as it stands right now, this is how we are having the tier list. I think Shanks probably is going to get bumped down just, but some people will probably put Uta at the bottom of the top 5. I just like the usefulness of Uta. I still think she's fantastic. The turn progress activated effect is still very hard to replace in some circumstances. Let's move on. Let's have a look at some of the new units brought into the game this month. So we have the new Frankie, Memories Frankie, Memory Brook, Memory Jinbei. Finally, we're done with that celebration, and the new Super Evolution of Boa Hancock. So let's start off with Frankie. I actually think Frankie is one of the better Memories of Straw Hat characters. I think he's actually pretty solid. I like that they're giving more buffs to shooters. That's always really good to see. But at this current point in time, I can't really put Frankie too high. I don't think I can put any of the Memory Straw Hat characters that high, because we just haven't seen enough yet. At face value, I think Frankie is pretty solid. You know, that kind of captain ability, very similar to Ben Beckman and Lucky Roo, this guy right here, where if you have barrier penetration that activates, you remove 2 turns of increased defense, it's 1 turn of increased defense, threshold, and rainbow shield, where Frankie just says if you activate barrier pen, you remove 2 turns of defense up. So a little bit different, very similar to Legend Ezo in a way, the shooter Legend Ezo, but also the fact that this character can get benefits from using Straw Hats on the team, get access to that super class. His super tandem is garbage, so that's a thing. But he does remove a bunch of other defensive effects. He removes the threshold and rainbow shield with his special and his super class, and then the captain removes the defense up. So yes, he does remove all of the defensive effects, but it's a little bit of a workaround in order to get it. Frankie's perfectly fine just the way he is. I think he's pretty solid. Let's move on to the next character, which is Brook. I think Brook is also a fantastic character that is released, but again, I don't think I'd put him in the moderately used tier. I think for now I'd put him in here. Brook is a really solid unit, has access to a great final tap, but the problem is that you need 3 characters on the list to actually activate the final tap. But if you do that, it's a great final tap. It's the same as K-Dad's final tap, but for Free Spirit, which is great, because Free Spirit is one of the best units in the game. And another thing is that Zoro Sanji transforming everyone into Free Spirit means that everyone can technically get the buff from this character's final tap. Just a little bit of a side note, that's pretty dope. Let's move on to, I'll finish off with Jinbei, and then we'll talk about Boa Hancock. So Jinbei, I really think he's kind of a niche case here. The main reason why I say that is because when I have used the new Jinbei in like PKA, for example, like I activate the super type and the special and stuff, and just it doesn't feel like it does enough. It can inflict weakness status, but weakness has an inherent flaw with it can't go through full immunity. The only way it does go through full immunity is if you activate wherever the Bonnie character is. Not this Bonnie, but the other Bonnie, the one from Egghead. If you activate that Bonnie's effect in her captain, this one right here, it does go through full immunity, which is cool. But Jinbei, like, he does damage reduction, he does, like, other, like, Jinbei just doesn't do enough, in my opinion. I will say, though, removing Special Bind in the captain is really good, and that is fantastic, and that's probably enough reason to put him in the next tier up, but it's just the rest of his kit just doesn't do enough. So, personally, not really a big fan of the new Jinbei, and that's just the whole thing that we've found with this Memory Straw Hat celebration is, yeah, they brought out all these new Straw Hat legends, and yes, they technically can kind of work together in some neat ways, but generally speaking, they're just kind of mid. Most of the Straw Hats are pretty mid that have come out during the celebration. Robin, Nami, Frankie, and Brook, those are the ones that I think are probably the best ones. Look, Sanji, I don't really think Sanji should even be in this tier anymore, to be honest. After reading what he, like, another read-through of what this character's abilities do, he's kind of average as well. So, like, honestly, these 4 are the memory Straw Hat Legends that I like the most. Though I will say, I actually did use this guy in Super Boss Kizuna for the set target status. It was actually very, very good, but that's like the only reason you use him. The threshold removal technically could be good. I did use him in the treasure map as well because he was like relatively high booster, but like outside of that, if he's not boosted in content, are you really going to use this Usopp that much? Probably not, let's be real. Let's move on to the final character. So there's not really a lot to talk about with this tier list here, but Boa Hancock. So Summer Hancock is actually not too bad. I think she's a lot better than I was initially expecting. Like, I was expecting, like, a couple of different things with this unit, but what they gave her was, like, the ability for excessive chain manipulation. Like, when you launch that special, getting a chain buff for 5 turns, the clock buff for 3 turns, which once that procs, you know, you're inflicting further debuffs to the opponent. You're able to buff her captain ability when you use her special, where it buffs her captain, where, like, normally in her base form, when you just have her as your captain, you activate a chain addition buff, then she extends the duration by 1 turn. But the thing is when you use her special, her captain ability changes for the next 5 turns, where it says if you activate legit, like, any chain buff from a special, it automatically extends it by 1 turn. So you can have, like, this character launch the special, and then you can have Wano Law, wherever that guy is. This guy right here. You can use his special, which normally is a 2-turn chain boundary, and you can buff that to 3. Of course, if you have, like, a Wano slot on him, you know, it gets buffed again or whatever, but that's really cool that you can abuse, like, this chain addition with this chain boundary over multiple different stages. That's dope. Special reverse resistance, and then the cooldown reduction and stuff. Like, there's some really cool uses for Boa. Fantastic super type as well. I think she's perfectly fine the way she is. The issue is, obviously, is that her super type is only focused on Psy characters, giving Psy characters that attack buff. But the thing is, her special can be basically put on any team, and she's going to help you out with massive chain buff, really, really good chain addition, by the way, and then get access to, like, the special reverse resistance and all that kind of good stuff. So she has her uses for sure, but I don't think she's not a game-breaking super evolution by any means either. So it is a little bit of a shame because we haven't really got a lot to talk about over the last couple of months of tier list stuff. But as I said, you know, we're moving into this next period here. On the 10th of August, we get a brand new Super Sugo Fest. I'm really excited to see what they have planned. Hopefully it shakes up the top 5 in some scenario, but as it stands right now, this would be how I would rank the tier list in terms of, if you're playing the game, these are the characters that you should be aiming for. These are the best units in the game. They're going to help you clear the most content. These are the ones you should be looking out for. But hopefully this video helped you guys out. I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. Of course, we'll be having our next tier list at the end of August. Really, really looking forward to seeing what we have planned for that one and see, hopefully we can get some cool units. But I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.